So this is the new Fender Road Worn series with the Nitro finish, and this one's called the Mischief Maker because the Mischief Maker has a different headstock and a different neck. It has a fat Telecaster headstock and neck. It also comes with US pickups. It comes with the Fender US 59 pickups. So today we're going to be replacing the pickguard on this 2021 Fender Vintera Road Worn series. This is the one that has the Nitro finish on it. We're going to be replacing it with this one of the new kind of mint greenish pickguard. I think it will look a little better than the white, and then use some cream covers on it. Then also we're going to be changing the nut to this Fender bone nut. For some reason it looks like the stock nut is kind of pushed over to the high E side, so it's kind of close to the edge. So doing hammer on and pull-offs on the high E, it kind of slips off. So it just seems like it's closer. I'm not sure if you can see it there, but it's a little bit closer to the edge than the low E is. So hopefully this new one looks like it's a little bit cut a little bit differently, a little bit more offset to the bass side. So I think it was just slotted a little bit off from the factory, so it gives a little bit more meat on the high E side. So first, what we'll first start doing here is removing the strings, loosening them up here. Then we're going to try and remove this nut. Take this block of wood and place it at the edge here. Try to loosen up some of the glue on the nut here. So just put it up against the nut and just tap it a little bit just to loosen it up. And then also on the front side of it. Kind of move it out of the slot, slightly tap it. Make sure just to hit it on the nut and not hit it on the actual wood of the neck. So slowly tapping it out of there. It's getting there little by little. There we go. So you can just kind of pull out of the slot. It looks like there's no glue in the slot either. It's just kind of press fit in there. So that's good. So I wasn't sure here, but it looks like the nut slots on the new bone nut are not as deep as the original. So you'll see later on that I have problems and have to actually end up removing and putting the stock nut back on because the height of the strings is too high. I have to file down the nut slots a little bit more for a proper fit. So here I am just kind of pushing the nut into the neck, just lightly tapping it from the top to push it down so it's seating fully in. So now we're going to remove the pickguard. We'll start getting the kind of trim removal tool and get underneath the knobs and kind of pull them off. This is just a car trim removal tool that comes in handy for this type of thing. Then we'll start removing the 11 screws around the edges of the pickguard. So that's all of them. So now I'll just kind of lift it out of there, take a look. Here's showing, these are the American 59 pickups here, if you're curious. CTS pots there as well. So now we'll remove the bolts on the pots so we can pull them out. Remove the cap here. So we'll move this switch as well, and the pickups. What we're going to do is put the cream pickup covers on there to match with everything else. We'll move the screws from the pickguard. So removed everything from the pickguard. It's kind of funny, even the screws are relict. Interesting note, there's this on all these bodies, they all say this C-Grav or C-Grav 6, which did a little researching, and that's a lacquer company apparently, so I guess it's in reference to the type of lacquer that's used on the bodies. So here's the new pickguard. Let's see how this is going to look. So we'll do the initial peel off of the protective film on the pickguard here. It's interesting how the old road worn pickguard that's new is all scratched up. So this new one is kind of minty, so I'll have to scratch it up a little bit. So what we're doing here is kind of putting the pickup through the pickguard and then just kind of screwing it down to bring it up through the pickguard. So there we go, all set now in there, and so we'll just kind of put the pots back in. pull the pots through here. Lay this down. And put the nut on top. Just make sure not to tighten them too tight. Put the switch tip back on. And tighten up the switch screws. So everything is in now, so we'll just kind of make sure everything's lined up underneath so it goes in the slots for the wiring so it lays down flat. And there we go. Everything's in. Now we'll put the screws back in. Tighten this up just a little bit more. Put the knobs on, line up the 10s. Put the switch tip back on. So we'll string it back up. Nuts on there. We'll screw the rest of the bolt holes, the screw holes in there, and we'll be back. So there it is, all bolted up. Everything's ready to go, so we'll string it back up, and we'll be back in a few. So here we go, all strung back up over the new nut. So here's an update. Here's the stock nut back on the guitar because the slots on the new bone nut are not as deep. So it sits the strings a little bit too high on the first couple of frets so that they're sharp when they're fretted. So I'm gonna have to file down, make the slots a little bit deeper. But so what I did was I moved over the stock nut a little bit more to the bass side, just a tad, just to give it a little bit, to put it more on the fretboard on the high E, so that way it doesn't slip off for now. But I'll eventually have to slot out the bone nut. All right. Well, thanks for watching.